Welcome everyone to UCL's Lunch Hour lecture series. I'm very pleased to be introducing today's lecture. Our speaker today is Dr. Noriko Cable. So Dr. Cable specialised in clinical psychiatric nursing and then went on to do research work, graduating with a PhD in nursing from the Medical College of Georgia Augusta in the United States. She then moved to the UK and began working at UCL in 2002. First of all, at the Institute of Child Health, and then she moved on to the Department of Epidemiology and Public Health, and has been working there for many years until today. She's currently a senior research fellow. Dr. Cable's main research area is the risk and protective factors associated with mental health and well-being across the life course. As part of this, she's had a focus on alcohol use and misuse in adolescence and adulthood. It's no surprise then the lecture today draws on her research on drinking and well-being. So over to Dr. Cable, who's going to talk about the rising culture of non-drinking. Are we getting sick of being sick? Thank you, Noriko.
Thank you, Amanda, for introducing me to the audience. I'm Noriko Cable, obviously, and then I work at the International Center for Life Course Study in Society and Health. It's really mouthful. But before we move on to that, please allow me to talk about ICLS, what ICLS does. ICLS works to produce and share research evidence to reduce the negative health impacts due to the social disadvantage among the people at all ages. The brochure, the booklets we produce are a good example, which you can download it via our website. As Amanda mentioned, my main work is in the area of mental health. I've been looking at risk and protective factors for mental health in the population, at the population level. That includes alcohol use, and my work also appears in the chapter 3 of either booklet. I'm also convener for UCL Alcohol Research Interest Group, and we were founded for doing some work looking at the non-drinking in the youth in UK, which I would be delighted to share some of the work with you today. I'm honored and delighted to give you a lecture today. So let me start with the talk titled The Rising Culture of Non-Drinking, Are We Getting Sick of Being Sick? For a starter, I illustrate youth drinking patterns over time, which is the motivation of my talk, youth drinking, youth non-drinking. Following on to that, to think about the factors associated with non-drinking, we also have to think about factors associated with the drinking. That is the second part of the talk, what influence youth drinking behaviors, followed by possible driving force to stay being non-drinkers. And many of you know peer drinking is the main driving factors for youth drinking. And then for this section, then I will explain the role of the peer drinking. My talk will end with the brief summary followed by after discussing the future implication, what we could do about helping children stay on the non-drinking. That's first part. Let me start with the first part of the talk, demographic trends on alcohol use, misuse among youth over time in the UK. Before bringing to the subject matter forward, I'd like to ask you this question, and I heard we have no technology today, so I have to ask you to show your hands. The question is, when was the first time you have had alcohol drink, not a sip? Please raise your hand if you said less than 10-year-old. Okay. Between 10 to 14, could you? And what about between age 15 and 16? And between 17 and 19? Young, and the over 90-year-old? So I see that the stability around that kind of shows from early to 10 to 14 to like 17, 19, that the adolescent time is the important time to, significant time to start drinking. So that kind of brings to the assumption that maybe today's youth are drinking. There's no drinking. But let's see how it's changed over time. I would like to show you in this graph that average alcohol consumption in the mean units at all age group is declining over time from 2005 and to 2010. Especially among the age group of the age 16 and 24, that is shown in blue thick line with an arrow on it. That is from 16.9 units to the 11 point units. That is roughly 6 units. So what this 6 units means. So by definition, 1 unit of the alcohol beverage contains 80 grams pure ethanol. That is like around half the pint of cider, standard cider or beer, 76 ml of the standard wine, single shot of the standard whiskey, and nearly a bottle. Nearly a bottle of the alcohol pops. So the about 6 units in reduction in a weekly is roughly 3 pints of beer or cider, 2/3 of standard bottle of the wine, that is 750 ml, 6 shots of spirits, or 6 bottles of alcohol. So that is quite significant reduction in the weekly consumption over time. So according to UK guideline, we were told we shouldn't be drinking above the 4 units for men and 3 units for women per day. But this guideline suggestion changed now. We shouldn't be exceeding the amount of the 14 units of the alcohol drink per week for both men and women. And we also have to have the drinking-free days in between the drinking days. So binge drinking, next I'd like to talk about binge drinking. That is, I'm sure you heard of this term, is the health risk. And by definition, it's like having excess drinking on one single unit or drinking to get drunk. And ONS defines such excess drinking as 8 units for men, 6 units for women in a single occasion. Okay, thank you. And in this figure, we can see above the guidelines, both above the guidelines, that is in the black lines, and binge drinking, that is a red line, reduced over time for the men age group of the 16 and 24. What about? What about women? That is pretty similar to the men in the same age group, but somewhat the trend is a bit stagnant toward the end. So what about the non-drinking? That's what I'm going to show you in the next slide. This is a work by with my colleague and I did, which were funded to do so, looking at the using the health survey for England. Then we looked at non-drinking groups in the age group of 16 and 24. In this figure, we can see the rise of the non-drinking in this age group over time from 18 to 29%. That is showed in the blue line figure. Most interestingly, the proportion of who said, "I never drank," that is shown in the green line. It's also the increasing from 9 to the 70%. So to recap for now, this talk, is the alcohol unit consumption is declining over time and more prevalent in the age group of 16 and 24. In this age group, declines of non-sensible and binge drinking over time are shown, and also, as well as the sharp rise of lifetime non-drinkers. So moving on to the next, let me explain what influences youth drinking. This is important to help us understanding how we could stop children from engaging in alcohol in the first place. For looking around, there are many images of drinking. In the UK, many TV soaps like EastEnders, Coronation, probably some of you know the Nag's Head from the Only Fools and Horses. The soaps stories are evolving around the pubs. Even in the US, the famous sitcom called Simpsons, there is a bar called Moe's Place. That's where Homer and his friends gathered around. So what message are sent to the young children with this? That is the perception of the children's alcohol, the children's perception of the drinking. That is called Arco Expectancies. Alcohol expectancies defined as expectations of physical or psychological effects induced by drinking alcohol. This can be learned from adult behaviors and message from media. There are two types of the alcohol expectancy. They are positive and negative. The positive expectancy, like the feeling good by drinking, and there is the negative expectancies like the experience of vomiting, hangover. Then the study, it is said positive alcohol expectancies relate to the children's drinking, while the negative alcohol expectancies are stopping children from drinking. So let's see what we found in this aspect of children who are born in a different time. Age 16 children who were born in the 1970, the positive alcohol expectancy were related to all types of the boys drinking. They are sensible or binge drinking, daily heavy drinking, but the modest effects on the girls drinking. Negative alcohol expectancy, like the feeling of the expectation of getting sick and the hangover, those are not significant determinant. But when we looked at 11 children who are born in around the new millennia, among them, positive alcohol expectancy was related to their drinking, while negative alcohol expectancy protected children from drinking. So these two research examples, looking at children born at different times, clearly show you that positive alcohol expectancies related to children's drinking. This alcohol expectancy can be shaped around as early as age 11. Another main driving factor for the shaping the children's drinking behavior is parental health-related behaviors. Again, when they looked at the children who are age 16 children who were born in 1970 and the age 11 children who were born in around the new millennia, in both studies, maternal drinking determined the children's drinking, but not fathers. So that's kind of the leading to the kind of reminding me of the social learning theory by Bandura and his famous experiment using Bobo doll that's showing that behaviors could be learned from observation, imitation, and modeling. Is this the really case? So we ask questions, would children's risky health-related behavioral patterns shaped by adults' behaviors in a household that are similar to them? For this, we used the household panel study, sampling around 40,000 households in the UK, called Understanding Society. We used the drinking, smoking, physical activities, and diet from both adults 16 and over in a household and children aged 10 to 15. With this data information, there are 4 adult behavioral patterns were identified: healthy, lightly risky, moderately risky, and risky. For the children, there are only 2, either healthy or risky. And the children's risky behavioral patterns were less likely to be determined by the same patterns of the adults, while we can say that its risky pattern of the adult's behavior only had a small chance compared to the moderately risky, and that was not significant. And when we look at this moderately risky adult's behavior in household, it showed 8 times greater chance for children being in a group of the risky health behavioral pattern. In this study, parental ethnicity and other related factors were accounted for. So what about non-drinking? What helps children from not drinking and stay that way? For this study, we looked at same data sets from Understanding Society. We look at the possible protective factors. They are happiness, greater awareness of harm by alcohol or cigarette use, and emotionally supportive friend network, and looked at how these factors are associated with the children's continuous, persistent non-drinking pattern. So which one factor would be? Our results showed increased happiness and greater harm awareness were both predicted children's persistent non-drinking status, but not supportive friendship networks. That was not significant. So why is that? Why having helping friends cannot help the children from drinking? What's going on? So that brings to the question about role of peer drinking. So there again, before I move on to the talking about more about the role of peer drinking, I'd like to ask you questions again. And so that is, if someone is refusing your drink and stick to his or her non-alcoholic beverage, what would be your response? So could you show your hands if your response is to try again by offering another alcohol drink that he or she may like? None. And could you show your hand? You still insist to have one, at least a sip, maybe one, yeah. And C for get upset, leave the scene. Well, they are very, you guys are very liberal. And stay with that, and could you show your hand if your response is to stay with the person but keep my alcoholic drink? The most of, yeah. And lastly, will switch my alcohol drink to non-alcoholic drink one. That's very liberal. And the reason I ask it is I'm coming from Japan. I master Japanese worst the bad peer in terms of peer pressure. We tend to encourage or force others to drink, like the try again, offering another, or insisting having a sip, or maybe you can try. Maybe you like this one better than this one. But they really take no for answer, especially the offer is coming from the superior, and the other person who is refusing is the inferior to them. Like for example, my potential, if my boss is Japanese, then if I say no to his or her drink, he or she would probably be angry, more likely he, but angry. Why you cannot get my drink? Is that something, it's my order to give you a drink, so you must drink. So it's like indirectly causing this, you to drink. So what we can see here are that there is a pressure to drink even you do not want to. So that's something that I like to show you with your research evidence. So that's really clearly showing a direction between the peer drinking and children's drinking at the same children born at different time, like children age 16 born in 1970, and both equally children at the age 11 children born in the new millennium. So they bring this to everything to the context of youth drinking. As I said before, positive alcohol expectancies are related to all the types of boys drinking, but the girls had only modest effect. So what does this mean? It's really what does this mean, the alcohol expectancy, peer drinking, when we put them all together, trying to interpret the picture of the youth drinking, what would it tell you? So the boys drinking, it's probably boys drink because they expect to be emotionally high and feeling good by drinking, and so was everyone. So there is a room. So that is suggesting there is room for alcohol education to change their perception, so they probably less likely to drink. But on the other hand, girls drinking, the girls drink, likely to drink because everyone drinks despite they have high harm awareness or lesser positive alcohol expectancy, but it is possible that they cannot say no. So that's what we can do about it. So that's that's come to the two public examples, public initiation to control youth drinking. They are ID check and dry January. This ID check they call Challenge 25. I think probably some of you saw this in a supermarket, said under 25 question mark. This is public initiative from the Retail Alcohol Standard Group. That is anybody who is older than 18 but looks younger than 25 and I'm not unlucky me, but they asked to produce an ID, proper ID if they want to buy an alcohol. So that is really initiated by to control the underage drinking, which is now a law in Scotland. This Challenge 25 is implemented in 2009. Prior to that, similar initiative called Challenge 21 was implemented in 2005. In this graph, we divided non-drinking by the age group. That is the under legal age and the legal age. That the under legal age is the green and the legal age is the red line. There is clearly some it's not analysis, but it's really coincides with the Challenge 25. It's that was implemented in 2005, and Challenge 25 implemented around 2009. That's really and the ongoing trends of non-drinking, a proportion of non-drinking growing in this underage, under legal age group. Next, I'd like to talk about another initiative, Dry January, which is initiated by the Alcohol Concern around 2014. Again, the same graph that shows you this around 2014, the proportion of the non-drinking in this age group was slightly increasing. But again, this is an analysis, but it's really coincides. Again, that's really showing that public initiative to control youth drinking is really effective. So my son often said, children have to be cool. Socializing with the alcohol often is a vehicle to be in a social circle. But maybe those days can be over if the children think it is cool not to drink, and we can support it. So that brings toward the end of my talk. In a summary, youth non-drinking is increasing. Children's alcohol use is likely to be driven by their own expectation towards alcohol. And happiness and harm awareness can stop children from drinking and stay non-drinking. That kind of partially offers the answer to my title of the talk, children probably getting sick or being sick, having a knowledge of the alcohol harm and being happy about stay on it. But like with the recent research evidence that can be threatened by peer drinking, especially among the girls, that is really great danger for the non-drinkers. So that is why the culture of non-drinking needs to be supported. But most importantly, this kind of evidence cannot be produced without series of birth cohort data using similar questions and longitudinal household panel study like Understanding Society using similar questions. So I am very grateful that these data are available to researchers. That concludes my talk. I would like to thank the colleague from the ICLS, Alcohol Research Interest Group, and my department, Epidemiology and Public Health, for their feedback, and also the founder, ESRC, and Alliance Health Foundation for supporting this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Noriko. We now have time for some questions. Sort of a bit of housekeeping first. Can you wait for the roaming microphones to get to you before you ask your question? And if you could just ask one question at a time and not overload Noriko several questions at once.
Hi, thanks for the talk. Have you done a study which has found drug use among that sort of age group decreasing as well? Or, is there a parallel between non-drinking or less drinking and drug taking?
I'm sorry that I didn't look at the drug use. The number one is really the unreliable for the self-report. So they're mainly for this. I mainly look at the alcohol for this.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to challenge you because you've described the decline in drinking among adolescents, but maybe I missed it, but I'm not sure you explained why you thought that was happening right now.
Well, that would be the Sheffield group is studying, and that's all I know. But possibly from the Understanding Society Youth Group, this study that the happiness and the harm, the alcohol harm, with the increased likelihood of them being non-drinkers, like the more having a positive effects from the education, like alcohol education. So children are equipped to know what is a harm, so they should stop doing it. And also they're more comfortable doing it and stop not drinking because they are happy about it and be probably supported by the similar crowds that are not drinking, so they can stay happy and not drinking together.
Thank you. Just one quick question. Did you find any relationship between the non-drinking and religious or ethnic backgrounds?
For this particular study, the religion and ethnicity is controlled, meaning that we took out all these effects. Because we all know there are some certain ethnic group and the religious group, they don't allow anybody to drink.
It was balanced by that?
It's balanced by this.
Hi, I'd like to challenge your conclusion that the initiative of Dry January has had an impact.
No, I didn't say that. Possibly that's really important.
Okay, I'd like to challenge the assumption that it's potentially really important, given the graph you showed where it looked that for under 18s that the increase had begun prior to 2014, which is when I think you said the Dry January initiative began, and that for the age group 18 to 24, it looked at as though actually there'd been a plateau in recent years.
Yes. Well, that's my point. That it's not the conclusion or the definite answer, but it's by the showing that the increase, that is something that we can talk about, how the not drinking is healthy and make you feel good, to promoting the culture. It's only the data shows only the two-year pattern. We need more data to see steady increase or decline to support the points. So I think we can use the more data.
And a separate point is, to what extent do you think the changes you've observed are due to a change in the reporting of drinking?
Could you repeat it again?
So what extent do you think the changes you've seen in drinking, or rather not drinking, is due to an increase or a change in the willingness to report alcohol consumption among young people?
Well, it's really early days to say because that's really the growing trends, but we cannot pinpoint yet, and that is why we start looking at it, see what can be related to. So far, can share. It's really not much of the ethnic group or religion or where you live or health status. And so it's really likely happening across all the groups regardless of your background or health status. So that's something we ruled out, the background factors. We're going to look at the more beyond for the next step.
It's not really a question. I'm just interested in the economics. So, for example, increased alcohol prices in Scotland, and also the idea that we had an economic crash in 2008 globally, and alcohol does obviously cost money in the same way that cigarettes have gone up and up. You know, people aged 16 to 24 have a limited income, and you also see things like the, the government taking away funding for college. And I'm just interested in, I just wonder if you're going to look at the economy, because there is an economic question there about how people afford to have fun, if you want to call drinking fun.
Well, I don't think the government would like to hear that the children spending all the government funds on drinking. But just to come back to your questions, and the Sheffield group does all this, the minimum price, the work, and I think you can look at it. And I'm not an economist, but it's really the research, some evidence showing in the Scotland, it's the consumption itself is gradually declining. So it's kind of having a positive effect by the implementing that policy. But in this country, not happening yet. So we cannot say that this, and the results basically they have shown it's more early on it's based on the England. So I think that you can rule out the minimum pricing effect. But yes, more possibly the economic crisis and taking the vouchers away or however, but I think that's the most importantly we do the more strict about underage drinking or the talking about the positive effect of not drinking. I think that's kind of gradually getting into people's mind.
Unless there's any other questions, I'd like to just thank Noriko again. She would like to join me in thanking her for her day.
Thank you. Thank you.